going here, gang. So
That's awesome.
here we are, and it's going to start counting. And we should be live on the internet. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to night 2 of the Disc Jockey News Virtual Expo. Tonight, I am joined by some of our illustrious trainers and writers and people involved with the Disc Jockey News. And I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves because that way they can tell the story. So this is going to, there's 20 minutes apiece, and then we'll get right into tonight's show. So Mitch, start us off.
Do we have that kind of time?
Well, that's why you're going first, then Vickie, then Ron, and that way we can.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up because whatever time is left, I'll have to take. So.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I'm Mitch Taylor. I'm a Gittimer certified advisor now. Just got that certification actually about a week and a half ago, and been a writer for Disc Jockey News. I just discovered, John, it's been almost this year will be the 6th year writing for Disc Jockey News. It's a pleasure writing for your paper. And I'm excited to be on tonight.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Great to have you. Good stuff. Vickie.
Hi, I'm Vickie Musni. I am a certified personality trainer, and that's kind of my angle that I got involved in the Disc Jockey News, as I teach business owners how to identify personality types and apply that information to their business settings, particularly in a sales context.
Very nice. And if anyone's had a chance to check out some of Vickie's work, she speaks at different conventions and things, and I think it would be safe to say you have a real passion for the area of connecting with personalities like that.
Yeah, I think it's the thread that goes through everything that I do. We own and operate a wedding business here in Reno where my husband and I work together, and then the speaking and the teaching. But the common thread is that I'm a people person. For me, it's all about connections. Whether I'm teaching a seminar or doing a workshop, working one-on-one with a client, or just trying to figure out how to run a business with my husband. It's all about personality.
and we'll have to get back to that and how you use some of those skills when engaging and working with your husband, because I think that could be an interesting study all on its own. But I don't want to cut into Ron's introduction time because, well, we've only got 59 and or 49.
Wait, here we go.
Ron, please.
Okay, so I'm Ron Ruth. I own Ron Ruth Wedding Entertainment in Kansas City and been doing this for about 25 years. And like Mitch, this will be my 6th year coming up in November writing for Disc Jockey News. Still trying to get over the fact I was tricked into becoming a writer, but that's okay. That's a story for another day. I also speak to wedding professionals and DJs, primarily on the topics of creating extraordinary client experiences and creativity, innovation, imagination.
Yeah. So we have a diverse group of very talented people with us tonight. For those of you watching out there, thank you for joining us tonight. We've got about 30 people right now. And that's great. We're doing wonderful. Thank you for watching. If you have questions, you can go to the YouTube page. If you're on the DJN Virtual Expo page, you can click on, there's a little YouTube thing as you hover over the video player. You can go to the YouTube page, and from there, you can ask questions in the chat on the right. And then, of course, we'll do our best to answer those. Some of them we can answer, some of them we can't. Some of them we'll just kind of stare at the camera and kind of give you that blank look.
Or we'll make up answers.
That's even better yet.
There we go.
That's even better yet.
Do that.
Well, what I wanted to start talking about, in any business, I think you start and you get to a point, and I don't think there's any business that can grow beyond a certain level without some additional help. And let's talk about coaching right now. And I think all of us have had some level of coaching. So, Vickie, I'd like to start with you. What are some of the coaching things that you have done, both working with people and maybe some personal coaching you've taken, and what kind of experiences have you had with that?
With coaching that I've received?
Yes.
For me, it ended up taking us in a totally different direction. Kind of the backstory for us is that my husband and I started a video company in 1996. And just through speaking and networking and asking lots of questions and attending conferences, we ended up, I think it was actually when I spoke on the DJ Cruise, buying into DJ Trivia, And then from there I went on to start speaking at Mobile Beat and things like that, and kind of came into the entertainment side and actually doing DJ and MC stuff very backwards. And it started just with people like Mitch that I was just asking my questions to about sales. Yes, just I consider Mitch my personal mentor. When I talk about him to people, I say, well, I had a phone call with my mentor this morning and he asked me this or said this or whatever. And so, yeah, Mitch is definitely one of those people for me. But really, it just started with people that I was meeting at conferences and hearing speak. And I found myself as a videographer, I was very much drawn to the DJ conferences and started attending those before I knew we were ever going to take our business in that direction. And it was just asking a lot of questions and connecting with people that I admired. Jim Cerrone, Scott Favor were two of the first people I ever heard present at a seminar. And it really started with me saying, wow, I want to be like them when I grow up. How can I do that? Well, I'm going to listen to them every chance I get. I'm going to try to hang around them. I'm going to go to more of the conferences where they are speaking and presenting and people like them. And just started asking a lot of questions. I haven't done a lot of formal coaching per se, but I'm what I call an education junkie. I'm always on webinars and listening and learning, not just the ones like this where I get asked to share, but sure. Always learning.
Sure, and I think you made a great point. I initially was talking about coaching, but really I think there's a super fine line between coaching and mentoring, and I think that line wavers back and forth because you need both to grow, and one could be the other, vice versa.
Yeah, and I think for me, coaching is more formal, and I probably would consider most of those type of relationships that I have more mentoring, because it's not like we're going through a program. It's more like me saying, hey, Mitch, I've got 7 questions. When can we schedule a phone call this week? And don't roll your eyes. That's how it works.
and sometimes that's some of the best time for brainstorming and improving one's business is that just picking up a phone and giving someone a call.
Yeah.
Ron, what's been your experience? Kind of take us through a little bit.
Well, my story is a lot like Vickie's, is that I've mentoring. I've got a ton of mentors. I mean, and she mentioned a couple of them. Jim Cerrone, Scott Favor, just 2. But I mean, the list for me goes on and on for Peter Mary, Randy Bartlett, even Mark Farrell back from his presentation on Getting What You're Worth. I mean, it's, and a lot of people are mentors without really even realizing that they're mentors. You just develop a relationship with these people, and then suddenly you find yourself sharing information. And I think the difference between a mentor and a coach is someone that is going to devote a lot more time to watching your whether it's an on-stage performance, a sales performance, probably like what Mitch does through the Get-Emmer training he has. He actually coaches people on how to sell, and not been through his training program, but I can assume that's probably a very large part of it. Basically I've tried to be a mentor to those that come to me and ask for my advice as well. I believe in paying it forward.
Yeah, I think that's a large part of the whole success of the industry. I think is not only the mentoring, the cross mentoring, but that paying it forward and really helping.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that anytime we can help others, I think that's extremely important. I also think, though, that I think it's important for those who are seeking help to be willing to help themselves along the way. It's not as easy as going to someone and saying, how do you do this, and expecting to learn anything from me or Mitch or Vickie or me, but telling them this is how I do it. This is how it works. What I can say, and what all 3 of us or 4 of us could say, is this is how it works for me. Now you need to find your own road or your own way of making it for you. And I think that's very important. Should not go with your hand out, but you can go with your mind open and awareness to work for whatever it is you're trying to get.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Mitch,
yes, sir.
You've been involved with the conversation a lot already. So.
I'm flattered and honored to be mentioned already, I guess. I completely agree with Ron in regards to paying it forward. Mm-hmm. I just want to try to give back to the industry that has given me so much. And yes, mentoring and coaching can definitely blur lines. I do believe that. Coaching is involved in our Get Immersed Certified Advisor training and support that we provide through, interactive online modules that I've got actually a few different DJs going through right now. And they basically send me information about what they're struggling with in their sales process. And then I provide a personal Get Immer game plan for them of how to proceed and answer their questions about where they're struggling in the sales process. And then we have a free 20-minute coaching call afterwards to follow up and kind of see where they're at, what they thought about those modules, and how they succeeded or failed with them, where they tripped up, and how we can better them for the future. Mm-hmm. To me, coaching is I'm giving them the roadmap. As a coach, Ron, Vickie, myself, whoever is coaching you will map. You have to drive. You have to put in the work in regards to get to where you want to go. I've been blessed by great coaches, Mark Farrell, Bill Herman, others to certain extents that are involved in the industry, and even in Jeffrey Gittimer himself. I mean, it's just amazing to have these kind of experiences, these kind of coaches, Kyle Cease, and I've learned from everybody I've been a part of, and I'm a conglomeration of everyone who's influenced me over the years, and it's just my turn to try to give back as much as I can.
Yeah, for sure. That's an important part. Mitch, can you turn I think your mic's still a little bit hot.
Sure.
Yeah, why don't you adjust that just a little bit for us? Because we were having when we're having other people talking, yours is kind of giving us an up and down, and it sounds like, I don't know if Ron and Vickie, if you guys,
it sounds like Darth Vader.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yep.
Is that better?
Well, we'll probably have to talk a little bit.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll have to find out. Yeah,
once we get.
I think and the hard part and I know Mitch has and Vickie as well probably have so many mentors. I don't want. I'm on behalf of all of us. If we left out anybody's name, it wasn't on purpose.
Really.
So many of you that we have that have become a part of our business lives, and it's just so difficult to remember all the names. And besides, there's just not enough time. If I were to make a list, I could take an hour just reading off all the names.
Yeah, sure. And I think there's different levels. I mean, there's people I've run into just in the hallway.
Mitch because he's like right there.
Yeah, exactly, and you
feel like you have to at that point. I mean,
He also did write the foreword for my book, so I kind of
awesome.
Cheap plug.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know he wrote.
Well, he did that one time, and then after that, I think he's just been rehashing, just moving the verbs around a little bit and sending it back in.
Why do you give away my secrets?
That's what I do.
Oh, there we go. Mike was just giving some feedback. It sounds like it must be better out there. Thank you, Mike, for sharing that with us. And if you guys are hearing some things like that, I know we've had a couple in the flow, and that's partially because we're doing 3 Skype channels coming in, and we'll do our best here for you guys tonight. Okay, so the coaching and of course mentoring is a huge part, I think, of anyone's growth. But for those people who are wondering how to get involved with connecting with the mentor, let's give them like a little 2-minute snippet of advice for someone who never really approached anyone. They wouldn't even know how to begin finding a mentor. Think about that for a second, and Mitch, we'll start with you and work our way across.
How to approach someone to find a mentor.
So if you're looking for a mentor, how would you locate that person, and how would you ask them or go about connecting with them?
I think it's about finding someone that you connect with. There are people that, sought me out. There are people that I've sought out to be a mentor for me, and it's because I felt a connection with them already. I felt that, man, they're exactly where I want to be, or they have something that I desire to have, from a performance standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, whatever it might be. And I feel like a connection with them, like I can talk with them and real candidly and feel comfortable sharing with them. So I think you have to have some sort of connection with them, whether it's seeing them perform in a seminar, whether it's reading a book of theirs and you're like, wow, this guy really speaks to me, or this gal really speaks to
Thank
me.
you.
That is
Sorry.
that's the connection that you need. And I think it's important to have a connection if you're going to have a mentor mentee, which I personally hate the word mentee. Apprentice is probably a better word instead of mentee. I know we use mentor and mentee in Toastmasters, and I'd rather just banish the word mentee. I don't think it sounds very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird word.
Ron, what's your thoughts on the concept of mentor and connecting with them?
Well, again, I'm a lot like Mitch. I think that if there's something that I want to improve on, and I know somebody that already does it well, then I'm going to approach them. But I think it's also important. One of the things that I find frustrating is, I enjoy mentoring as much as anyone else. But as an example, if somebody were to come to me and ask me, how I do it, how I'm able to charge whatever I'm charging. The first thing I usually suggest to them is go through the same process that I went through, and that's to start with, maybe reading Jeffrey Gitomer's book or reading Michael Port's book or reading. I'll tell you what, read these 3 books and then come back and let's talk about not how I can how I charge what I charge. Now we can have a better roadmap to get you to where you want to be. Unfortunately, though, and Mitch kind of talked about it earlier about I can give you the roadmap, but you got to drive.
Yep.
Unfortunately, though, Vickie and Mitch, how many people have come to you and you've said, okay, go do this, and then you never hear from them again, ever? Yep. And I want to be helpful. I really, really do. And I'm not trying to be negative here, but I think it's important if we're talking about mentoring. Yeah, it's great to be able to reach out to people that you respect and that can be helpful to you, but be willing to go to them and say, I want to do what you're doing, and I've already tried a couple of things, and let me tell you what I've tried, and it's not working. Maybe you can help me with that. Rather than going with just both palms out and saying, give me. Because there's no relationship there, and a mentoring is relationships. It's a trust. It means I care about you, and you care about the information I provide, and you're going to use the information I provide to you with some sort of respect and care. I think it's Mark Farrell that said, if you pay nothing, how does it go, Mitch? If you pay nothing.
If you charge nothing for your time, that's exactly what it's worth.
Exactly. And the same thing's kind of true with mentoring, although you're not charging, but to invest, and all you're looking for is free information, then that's exactly what it's worth. It's free. And you won't value it, and you won't put it to use the way it should go to use. Yes, John?
No, that does. I think that really does. That really does. Actually, Vickie, I'm going to change the question up a little bit for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I ate up too much of her time.
No. We had a question here, and I think Vickie would be a good one to talk about that. Looking for a mentor or someone to connect with, would you look for someone in your local area, or would you look for someone on a national? What would you recommend?
Perfect. That's kind of the direction where I was headed. And a lot of it comes down to personality. Some people definitely do better with face-to-face, and they want somebody local.
Uh-oh, we lost Vickie.
We lost Vickie.
A really good first step.
Vickie, we're going to need to go back a little bit. We lost you at local.
If you're looking for someone at the local level, start with searching out a local ADJA chapter or another association for wedding professionals in your area, and that would be a good place to start locally. if you are in the conference circuit and you're going to those already, for me, those have become like little family reunions almost. Every couple of, 6 months or so, I get to see a lot of the same people as I'm traveling around to the different shows. And that makes it fun. But there's times when it's inconvenient to have a mentor that's in a different time zone. And, but you can do so much with scheduling phone calls. And for me, those people like Mitch and Dave Tournier and others, that they were my friends first and became mentors. And hopefully I am able to give something back to them. It's like you were saying, it's not just, hey, give me. It's okay, I've got questions for you, but then, sometimes the tables will turn and maybe I can help with something also. And but it wasn't something I necessarily sought out in either of those cases that I just mentioned or in the others. It just starts with friendship, and you realize that these are the people I connect with. These are the people I respect. These are the people that, I find myself going to and just chatting with on Facebook or asking questions, and then it becomes something more. But I'd say it just really depends on personality.
Yeah, it really
if you want to look for somebody local, or if you can work around time zone differences. I've got the other extreme when I'm trying to set up phone appointments with Dave Lewis, because he's like 2-3 hours, earlier than me, and Mitch is 3 hours in the other direction. But when I've got a specific question for one of those people, I find a way to find a time to ask them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it, of course. As someone who's in the industry wanting to learn and grow, you make the time. Mm-hmm. You really have to make that time. One of the changes over the...
Chris, I just add one more thing,
John?
John.
Go ahead, please.
There is also something really important, though, about having people at the local level that fill that role in your life. Like, we have a good friend here in town who is the one that I can be like, hey, can I shadow you on a day when we're not working? I'd like to watch you work. And that's something that I don't really have the opportunity to do with my mentors that are long distance. So developing a relationship with peers in your local area is really important.
And actually, Vickie, that bridges to the question I was going to ask. Is now all of us have been in the industry for a number of years at different levels. Now, especially with Ron and Mitch, you guys have been in there. Ron, you and I have been here the longest, I think, if I'm not mistaken. How would we think about the local connections we had back in the day, and how we'd be able to work together, or maybe the non-existent work together, compared to what can happen today? Let's kind of touch base on each of our experiences in that. Ron, I'm going to let you start, because this is the first one to share in this round.
So the question is, what was it like back in the day versus today? Is that pretty much
exactly? Because we're talking about the idea.
I just want to make sure I understand the question
of local mentors. If a person had mentors locally, basically, how would that have worked for us back in the 80s and 90s?
Back in the day, you didn't have mentors. As a matter of fact, you didn't even talk to each other. There was a lot of the secret shopping of calling other DJs just to find out what they charge. I can remember people calling and wanting to know what size speakers and amps I used and how many watts do you put out, which was obviously DJ, because nobody else cared at that time. I don't think it was until, I came into this in 1990, and I don't think it was until well after 2000, maybe 2003, 2004, where there was I go back to Mark Farrell, and it was that presentation of getting what you're worth. If I'm not mistaken, it was 2003. And then that was followed by Peter Mary, who was at the time the new president of the ADJ, and he and Thomas were touring the country, and Mark had was the former president, and they were really presenting content of value to try to get DJs in local markets to form ADJA chapters. And we had a great kumbaya kind of almost made it a decade where there was everything kind of fell together. And then I've noticed over the last couple of years, it's starting to splinter apart again. I don't see, and I may be wrong, Vickie and Mitch, in your areas, you may see it differently, but I'm not seeing that tight, close-knit all for one and one for all type thing that we had going for us from probably about 2003 to maybe 2010. Mitch, would you agree, disagree?
Yes, I would tend to agree with that, Ron. Is my mic still okay, John?
Yeah, I think we're sounding fine.
Okay. It's weird. You mentioned, back in the day, and I just have to share, I have a mentor, which no one hardly knows about, and he's actually a business partner of mine, Lee Haynes. And when I first moved up here from Metro Detroit, I looked in the area and did, the scouting, right, of what everyone else was doing in this area. And Lee was the only one who was doing things similar to what I was doing in Metro Detroit at the time. And so I picked up the phone and I called him and I said, "Hey, my name is Mitch Taylor and I'm moving to your market. We can either be competitors or we could be friends. What do you want to be?"
That's one approach.
That was pretty much true. And looking back, it was very arrogant of me. That's the best, nicest way, PG way I can say it. It was very arrogant of me to do that, but Lee connected with me because that's the exact personality that he is. And we've been best friends. He was my agent for a short time up here as well. And so I think it's one of those things where, again, it's how you approach someone to be a mentor. Mm-hmm. I would agree that there's probably less sharing since 2010, probably right, Ron, on that number. I really feel that the Worth Tour, the DiscJockeyAmerica.com forums, which is sad they no longer exist. People like Vickie would have thrived in those forums. And I really harken back to those days as like a day when we all were kind of joined together, and what Vickie mentions about being like a family reunion of these conferences going back. I totally feel that. And there were Disc Jockey America, Mark Farrell, Bill Herman, the Northern Disc Jockey Conference. John, my gosh, you were the start for me.
Oh, yeah, John. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mitch, but you're absolutely right. John, you led the way in a lot of different areas, and I think you turned. I know Mitch used to attend. I don't know, Vickie, if you ever attended the Disc Jockey News Conference, but you turned us on to some presenters that I never thought I'd have the opportunity to see, like Brian Dodge and Brian
Flanagan.
I wish I could remember. Brian who?
Flanagan.
and even Michael Port. You had Michael Port once, for crying out loud. Oh,
John Young had Michael Port before anyone knew who Michael Port was. John Young had Brian Dodge before anyone knew who Brian Dodge was. John Young had Carr Hagerman before anyone knew who Carr Hagerman was.
John, can I come speak at your show? Sorry.
You got to be a name like Brian Dodge. No.
Well, see, I've got this page 6 writer for the Disc Jockey News. He's got a contract that he has to have enough time to present during the day. So
that guy sounds like an arrogant jerk.
Yeah, yeah. But boy, when he gets on the stage, as soon as he gets up there, he's like, "Oh, here I am on stage," and we start clapping. Yay!
I'm sorry, and Mitch, I feel really bad but you got me excited when you mentioned John, because I feel really. Of all the people I have failed to mention in all of this, that's the one that.
It's true, because when I started my company up here in 2006. It started earlier than that, but I really kind of got going on the national scene, learning more education. And the genesis for me was reconnecting with Mark Farrell, the Disc Jockey America DJN radio podcasts, and then those podcasts led me to the Northern Disc Jockey Conference and seeing Michael Port and meeting John Young and meeting Scott Faber for the first time. So kudos to you, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
We got to give Vickie some airtime here, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Mitch and I.
Exactly. And Vickie, you're going to come at you'll because of what you introduced a little earlier. You're going to come from a different angle. Obviously, us old crows in the crowd here.
He called you old,
Mitch.
Mitch.
Yourself. No. I'm kidding.
So let's as we've talked about the connecting with locals. Now, what have you experienced in your market, and how do things work with the friendly rivalries or the out-and-out animosity that might...
Yeah, no, and I've seen both sides. When Craig and I were married and we started our business in '96, we were living in San Jose. And so we started in the Bay Area and then we relocated to Reno in 2001. And at that point, we kind of had to make a decision. Are we going to kind of start over, or is this something we still want to pursue? Job, we had two very small babies at the time. Our kids were 5 months and 16 months when we moved here. So I was not that heavily involved in the business at that time. And we said, well, we'll just go check out this bridal fair that's coming and just kind of scope out and see what the market's like. And then you can decide. And we went to just talk to some people. And as soon as he said, oh, yeah, I'm a videographer, this one guy I remember in particular took his card back right out of his hand and was like, go away, don't talk to me. And we're like, wow, is that really what this, is going to be like? And so it took a while until we really felt like we became friends with some people that did the same type of thing. Part of that was because of some open animosity. And part of it is just the reality that if you are the videographer for an event or you are the DJ for an event, you're the only DJ there. It's not like you're meeting, other DJs when you're DJing a wedding, but yet you are meeting photographers and video people and caterers and coordinators and all of that. So it took longer to meet people that did the same thing. The flip side of that I experienced was I was involved at the ADGA when Reno had a chapter back in, I don't know, like 2008 or 9. And again, that was just me as a videographer going out to network with DJs. And that might have been part of why they were so open, because I wasn't competition and I could bring something different to the group. But when I was involved with a local ADJH chapter more recently, I started commuting to the Bay Area for meetings. I was for 4 to 5 hour drives for meetings. So I was only making it probably 4 or 5 times a year. But I was involved in their online forums and really saw something that I felt was truly unique in that chapter. And they won the Chapter of the Year award for the ADJA, I guess it was 2013. But I still see this camaraderie there that is pretty unusual. I see glimpses of it in the Manitoba area also. I've seen some Dave Tournier and Brian Podwarney are trying to do, where they're very proactively reaching out to people, introducing themselves and creating opportunities to get together. It's not something I see very much here local. It seems really truly to be the exception, not the rule. Yeah. But that was one of the reasons that I was willing to commute 4 hours to be involved in a so-called local chapter, is because of the genuine caring. I was seeing people posting on Facebook things like, hey, I didn't have an event this Saturday, so I went and visited these 5 people, and they posted pictures.
Oh, I think we lost.
And help set up, help tear down, shadow during, part of the event, something like that. I've seen people post. Am I back? Yes?
Yeah, you're back. Yep. We lost you about a sentence or two, but I think we're...
Sorry. Just that I've seen, this camaraderie where people are truly, genuinely interested in helping one another. I've seen people say, hey, I got to my event and I found out I need an extra mic stand, or I need this kind of cable that I didn't have. And people were like, I'll bring it to you. Yeah, I know it's an hour away, but I'm not working right now. I'll help you. Those kind of true friendships. And I have a lot of respect for that chapter for creating that kind of environment. And I wish and hope more than wish that will become the norm in other areas as well.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that the moving and how that the just not even in a huge regional different or a big change made such a difference though in how the communication and networking happen.
And part of it, maybe again the experience of she's not part of our market, so we'll share more, with her because she's not really competition. But I've seen it with those members that live in the area too, and they really are the same way. They get that when we help a fellow entertainer with something, or we encourage another business owner, that we're helping the industry, and that's something that I think some people catch on to sooner than others.
Yeah. I wonder, and I'm just as we've been talking about this, because the idea that about that 2010-ish, that our connection in many ways with the local DJs kind of started to dissolve in our area also. When did Facebook become a player, would that have had an effect on
YouTube?
Yeah,
both
Absolutely.
Facebook and YouTube. Yeah. I think it's Jude Walker that says we live in a YouTube society. He told me that one time, and that stuck with me. That it's so easy now for people. I don't need to invest in education. I don't need to invest in going to a conference, no matter where it's being held. Any information I want, I can simply pull up in YouTube.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you don't know if the people that are presenting that information are credible or not, or have any idea of what they're talking about. And on top of that, they may be able to give you the how. They may be able to give you the basic blueprint, but they really don't invest a whole lot of time into the how to.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about it as you guys have been talking about that, and I think the two areas in which it might have had an effect, of course, is the Facebook world. Now I can see pictures that Ron puts up from Disneyland and follow his vacation when I couldn't do that before. And the second part is locally, I'm thinking to myself, the first group of DJs that we started the association with and did, I bet a third of them are gone. They're out of the business.
Right.
And
that's something that's definitely observed too. Even my business partner, Lee Haynes, in the photo booth business, he's not DJing anymore. So yeah, you're right. Some will just leave the business completely.
Yeah, it's just kind of an interesting evolution.
And 2010 is when our Reno chapter of the ADGA folded, in part primarily because the main members, the key people, either retired, closed their businesses, or moved out of the area.
And it's not just the ADJA. I was vice president of a NACE chapter locally, and it's gone.
Yeah.
And ABC, I know here in Kansas City, they're still in operation. They have some pretty committed people that are trying to keep that. Well, I shouldn't say trying, because I haven't been to one of their meetings in a very long time, but they keep it going. But yeah, you wonder, just like so many other things from days gone by, associations on the same path as cassette tapes.
Yeah, very much so. We had someone who wanted to kind of take us in a different direction a little bit here. Mike's got a question about the iPod DJs. If the iPod and the digital side of it is how that affects the ease of people getting into the industry. And I think this might be going back. We can go back and kind of, for those, because there's young people watching right now that probably have no idea what it was like before.
Like me?
Before the computer.
Carrying albums and 45s and turntables. And
for those of you who new to the younger ones, there was this thing called milk crates that we would go and we could steal them from the local school. They'd bring their milk in. They'd drop the milk off of the school. The school would set the crates out, and if you're fast,
and whatever you do, please don't dance too close to my table, because you'll make the record skip.
Yeah, exactly. And it won't
the CD.
It won't just skip a little bit. It'll like jump 2 songs
a
lot, and
that's where beat mixing actually began. Scratching.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it looks like we planned this. No, but that of course was back in the day when it took. Really, in order to become a DJ, we had to invest money to really become a DJ at that time. Those times have changed, and I know a lot of people lament that, and they lament the controller DJs. The vinyl guys are still there. Controllers DJs are ruining the industry. I don't think it's so much of ruining the industry as it's the future of the industry. I think we all can see that. With that being said, how does one deal with that when you're having startups coming in and they're coming in for incredibly low dollars? How do you, as a business person trying to sell your service, how does that play into your process? Mitch, what do you think?
If you can't change the people, change the people. And to me, iPods have no bearing. I had 2 different couples today. One bride is not seeing the value in what we provide, and that's okay. Addict to work with us can't wait to come in on Friday and sign the contract. So to me, iPods, again, this whole thing came about as well, and I'm sure Ron will attest to this, when cassettes were able to record songs to cassettes, and people could create their own mixtapes on cassettes. The cassette's going to replace the DJ. Did that happen? No. Well, iPod's going to replace the DJ. Did that happen? In some cases, I would argue that yes, but it's mostly for the backyard event where music is tertiary. It's not primary or secondary. Yeah. The key is you want to find the events that value you, value what you bring to the table, and want what you can create for them. So if you can't change the people, change the people.
And I think differentiating between what you're doing, and that's something, Ron, I think you and I've talked about this a little bit, is that a lot of what you do is helping to differentiate what you do from other entertainers. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, there was a time I used to worry about all the other DJs that were out there, what they were doing and how they might affect me one way or another. And over the past, 5, 6, 7 years, I don't care. My goal is to do what I enjoy doing most, and to work with couples who enjoy what I do. And I think kind of ties in a little bit, John, to the topic of mentoring. When if someone were to come to me and say, I'm really concerned about iPad DJs and how they might affect my business, I think my first question would be, who's your client? Who do you describe for me who your client is? And I think so many DJs, and not just DJs, so many business owners can't tell you who their client is. Just talking about, well, she's a bride and she's getting married and she's got a groom. No, I can describe my client down to the amount of education, how much money she makes, what kind of job she has. These are the people that I want to cater to. The iPod DJ or iPad DJ, they're going to cater to a different client, and that's fine. Let them have that client because they're going to be there anyway. There's always going to be the discount stores out there, and there's always going to be the higher end stores. People shop at both. Mm-hmm. So I don't really worry about the iPad DJ anymore, or any of the other DJs, just simply because I'm responsible for what I do and my own success. Nobody else can influence my success. Nobody.
Mm-hmm. Now, Vickie, when it comes to communicating, you're going to communicate differently than we will, the three of us as guys, to that. Mm-hmm. How do the conversations, when you've had conversations and you've been in that sales meeting, how have those types of things, those variables of the iPad type DJ or iPod DJs, have those been something that's been discussed, and how have you worked?
I think my feeling on that, I feel like I'm grateful for the place that we're in, and even though we're fairly new to DJing in the last 2 years or so, we're not new to weddings. So I feel like I went through that process with our video clients and already realized and came to terms with not every client is for me. And it's really freeing when you get to that place, because then there's not this pressure of I have to get them to book. It's, can I establish a connection with them? Is this someone I want to work with? And then if you both answer a yes, then you move forward. But I had a client meeting a couple weeks ago. I think I shared about this on the Sales for Event Pros Facebook group page, that I just got this weird vibe, and mom was texting me and wanting to set up the meeting and telling me one thing, and then she would change it. And then she said, okay, I really wanted to try to get the bride and groom there. And then just the groom ended up showing up to the meeting, even though the mom said bride was going to be there. And I thought, okay, either there's something dysfunctional in their communication or she's not being honest. But either way, I just said, you know what? This is not one I want to pursue. Yeah. And I was fine with that. Sunday, we did a timeline workshop. It was our first time that we did it. We had a bridal fair 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And we just invited everyone that came by our booth to come out to a workshop. And they had 6 couples come, or 12 people, 5 couples, and then one bride brought her maid of honor. And some of them even already had their DJ booked already, but they still came, and I was okay with that. I said, great, hopefully I can share some information, give you some ideas. If we have a connection, you'll think of me down the road. Maybe they'll end up booking video. I didn't care, but it was just really freeing to be able to go into that setting saying, this is who we are, this is our story, this is what makes us unique. We might not be the most experienced, we're not the most experienced DJ in our community, but I know weddings. So if your focus is going to be on the specific things that make your wedding unique, if you want to talk about, how to create a timeline that makes sense to you and your guest, I've got a really unique perspective on that, because before starting to study that myself, I spent 15 years videoing DJs at both ends of the spectrum. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. Yeah. And so I have that. That's what I bring to the table. And if that's a good fit for what that client is looking for, great. If it's not, I'll talk to the next one.
Yeah.
I think Vickie brings up a good point. Ned Spencer mentioned this in his article, I believe, this month. He's on like page 8. It's a couple pages past me. But one of the things he talked about was, knowing when to say no.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that you're right, Vickie, it's very liberating to get to that point. And I think it's important for people in that sales consultation, if your gut is telling you that this is not a good idea, then it's probably not a good idea. And you need to find an avenue away from it, in the most polite way that you can make that exit. Because unfortunately though, there will always be that one that somehow slips under the radar, and you go, how did I miss this? But you get through it, and you move on to the next, and you learn from that lesson. So,
and I guess what I'm hearing, you're all talking about that connecting with your optimal client is being a really big part of it. And as you're talking about this, I and this is a little bit of a tangent, I'm envisioning the troubles that McDonald's is having right now. And if you follow McDonald's, or the restaurant McDonald's, I don't think they can define who that person is. I don't think they can make that connection, and they don't understand. And I was in McDonald's the other night because that was the only thing in town, and they've changed things so much that it's like, well, who are you catering to anymore? They don't know.
Well, McDonald's has an identity crisis all the way around, not just from that point of view. But if you think, going back to the day again, we'll go back to like 1970. And thank you, Mitch. Flashback.
I can't go back to 1970. Sorry.
Can you minimize her? Yeah. So anyhow,
I can't go back to 1970.
I can. Just John, let you and I have a conversation.
I can. Yeah, I remember. It was a good year, 1970.
But seriously, and okay, so I'm gonna teach Mitch and Vickie a little something right now. Then,
okay.
Back in the 70s, McDonald's was much like Disney. You had to go through an entire training program before you could ever step up to the front to a counter to wait on a guest. You had to know what to say, how much time you had to say it, exactly how all the food was prepared, all that stuff. Now, I'm guessing that somewhere in the 90s, I don't know exactly when it happened, but I'm going to guess that somewhere in the 90s, McDonald's figured out, man, this is expensive putting all these people through this training. So they did away with it. So now you don't get that level of service that you used to get, believe it or not, much, much better in 1970 for far less money than what McDonald's employees are making now. What blows me away is that, okay, so, and you can tweet John if you disagree with what I'm saying, just tweet them all to him. But when you think about McDonald's employees and all fast food employees wanting more money with minimum wage, so let's set aside the argument that yes, everyone is entitled to the right to make a livable wage. I will not argue that. But what I will say, though, is that, okay, if If I know that this employee has just suddenly making tons more money, do I expect to be treated better when I walk into one of these restaurants? When I walk into a McDonald's and suddenly we've jumped from $7 an hour to $15 an hour, do I expect a smile? Yes, I do. Do I expect a thank you? Absolutely. Because right now, you're not getting that. And I think it would be far easier for them to get what they want if they would make a deal with management and say, you know what, we will do better for them.
And I think
but anyhow,
well, you actually brought us right back to it. I think that is one of the big differences that you'll find between, we'll call it more of an entry-level DJ and someone like a Mitch or even a Vickie who've been into it and know the importance of customer service. Am I right? Am I right, Mitch? I mean,
yeah, and it, Gittimer has a book, customer satisfaction is worthless, customer loyalty is priceless. Yeah. And you don't want your customer satisfied. Satisfied means they'll go any place else next time. You want them to be raving fans about your product. And you're right, that's the problem at McDonald's right now. Look at their latest, 3 different ad campaigns. One is focusing on how juicy and delicious and, not necessarily good for you the Big Mac is. One is focusing on, giving back love and you pay with a smile and a hug of your child. Yep. We're totally, borrowing from my very first article in Disc Jockey News, schizophrenic marketing. Yeah. It's not congruent. And there's a major identity crisis. You need to know who you are as a brand. And as Ron stated earlier, who your ideal client is. And you need to laser pinpoint focus on who they are, find out where they frequent, and then that's your advertising dollars and money well spent. Money should be spent on your current clients and getting them to refer friends to you and showing that you care to them, and not necessarily on, ads in newspapers that get shotgun blasted out and you have no idea if your target client's reading it or not.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think if you take everything that we've said in regards to perfect client and mentoring and all of these things, it kind of boils down to what Mitch was just talking about. You don't want satisfied clients, you want raving fans. The only way you get raving fans is to get them through relationship. And that's what I talk about client experience, is that without that experience, they're gonna go someplace else. If they're just satisfied, then when they're done with you, then you've just opened the book for them to pick somebody else they can be satisfied with. If they're raving fans, they're going to be coming back to you all the time.
Yeah.
Refer you like crazy to other people.
Well, and I just want to say the same is true not just for the clients, but for the other professionals that you work with. Mm-hmm. And that's a big part of why it was so easy for us to start adding entertainment services, is because of the reputation we already had as event professionals doing video. It was not, oh, who are you? It was like, oh, wow, great. We already know that you're reliable and friendly and professional, and we're excited that we have more that we can tell our clients about that you do. And sometimes, too, if you've got those key venues or those key other people whose target clients, mirror you, same photographer at a lot of the weddings that you work at, or venues where you find yourself working frequently, then those become your strategic partnerships, and you start getting referrals from them as well. And it cuts out a lot of the other stuff.
Good stuff. We have got about 8 minutes yet, and I'm watching. We've got some chat. People they're discussing some things on our on the chat board there. I think one of the things that, as I'm looking at this, is communicating instead of the selling of gear or selling our we've got the features and the benefits and that kind of a thing. And I think that maybe a couple of the folks they're struggling. They're selling instead of selling the. I think that might be a good. Let's kind of dig into that a little bit. The difference between selling tangible things and selling the outcome. If you follow me.
Yes. I can speak to that. I just tweeted during my Gittimer conference, John, your income is determined by your client's outcome. And a truer statement, I don't know if it's ever been said, honestly. I think that from a standpoint of you're trying to showcase your value to someone, and it's not about your gear. They could care less about the tools that you use. It's about how you can help them achieve exactly what they're looking for, and let them have less stress, let them have more fun, let them really enjoy their time as a newly engaged and newly married couple, if we're talking about weddings. So to me, it's about how can you get that client to their outcome? How can you paint that picture for them? We're getting into my sales workshop a little bit now. But yeah, that's really what it's all about. How can you, show them their outcome with you at the helm of their party?
Well, and I have to talk about personalities here. My angle when I come to this is that there can't be one.
Oh, Vic, you're gonna have to give this. Hang on, Vicky.
She's frozen.
Yep.
No.
We lost Vicky. Are you back, Vicky?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead. Start us over again.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We lost you right away.
I just want to emphasize that some people I hear teach that there's this right picture.
Oh.
Say this certain pixels, it's going to work every time. And
no, we're back. We're back and forth, Vicky.
Okay. Maybe Mitch can summarize what I'm trying to say.
I could summarize it. I think what Vicky's saying.
Right.
Nothing works all the time. The same exact approach isn't going to work for every single client, because you do have personalities. You do have different backgrounds, different places where people come from. And it's important for you to truly understand the personalities that you sit in front of. It's why
different values, and damn it.
Go ahead. Take over.
There's a different thing that you need to emphasize. It's not about, pretending to be someone you're not in front of a client, or trying to, put on a facade. It's trying to get to the bottom of who they are and what motivates them. Whereas one client is super motivated by, having the most fun reception ever. Another client really just truly wants a day that is stress-free. Some people are control freaks, and they want to feel like they're in control. And if you emphasize the stress-free day, you don't worry about anything, they will freak out. But you have to find that way of letting those personalities feel that they're in control. So it's getting the individual needs of each person. And then, of course, the beauty in the wedding situation is that you don't have just one client. Obviously the bride normally has veto power, but you've got to connect with all of the decision makers. If dad's writing the check, he's going to have a different personality probably, and different concerns and different questions and different needs and different things that he wants you to emphasize with him versus, the bride or the groom or the mom or the maid of honor, whoever else is giving input.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about connection.
Yeah,
it's funny. I've been taking improv, and one of the things my improv instructor taught me a year ago, and it kind of sums up everything that's just been said. People don't care about stuff; audiences don't care about stuff. They care about relationships. Same thing's true with clients that you're working with. They don't care about the stuff. They care about whether they like you, they trust you, they think that you're going to get them, as Mitch say, to the outcome that they want to get to. And the only way that you can do that is by, from that very first contact, start working on creating some sort of a relationship. Because without it, you're just going to be repeating yourself over and over and over again, and working with people you probably are not going to enjoy.
Yeah, and the advice you guys are giving, of course, is great information. I know we've got a couple of guys who are younger that are watching the videos, and what we're saying is true, and what we're saying is maybe 2 steps away from where you're at right now, and that's understandable. That's why we almost need to go back to the beginning of our talk tonight when we were talking about finding mentors and finding people that can help you grow from where you are today and take you to the level where you'll be able to, be more selective in your potential clients and be able to sell to them in a fashion that will connect with them.
And I would even say, I mean, if there's people that are, if there's someone watching this that has questions, I would encourage them to email us, and
Absolutely.
and we do what we can to help. I mean,
Ron has a mentor hotline. It's 1-900. Sorry, John, I couldn't resist.
1-900 Big Disney fan. That's right.
I like that. Or you could just read my article. Go back through every past Disc Jockey News and read page 6 for the past 5 years.
Yep, and as soon as you see that who was it? The Rangers were winning, or was that the Chiefs who were winning, or who was winning in that one article?
The Royals.
Royals
won the World Series.
Yeah, there you go.
You didn't know that, John? It's in my article.
I saw that, and I missed it. One last question. We're going to go really quick. Someone had asked about a good example or a way to maybe create some relation or start relationships at a bridal show. We have to go really because we're almost at 9 o'clock. So anyone have some thoughts on the potential of starting a relationship at a bridal show?
I defer to Mitch.
With vendors or clients?
Probably clients.
Okay.
Start with the mindset of how you can help them.
Yeah, for us doing that workshop and having that be our main hook, that was what we were using at our bridal fair to start conversation. And people were like, oh, wait, it's free. It's open to anybody. And that was a good segue. They got that we really do care and that we weren't going to discriminate, which wasn't, no, for our clients only. You have to book first with us before you can come. It was just, no, come. We're going to spend the afternoon sharing what we've learned. And a lot of people were really receptive to that.
Yeah.
I'm doing a workshop in 2 weeks, or I beg your pardon, a week from this coming Saturday at a bridal show called 5 Fun and Easy Ways to Wow Your Wedding Guest. It's an hour. It's part of the show, so people are going to be there. I've been marketing it as well, and it's a great way of making it's not a sales presentation, and actually it is in my it's in my next month's article. I talk about how you can put a workshop together of your own, but it is a way of connecting with couples, being able to show them some things that maybe they never even thought that was possible to have happen at their wedding.
Yeah.
David Lewis's timeline workshop is priceless for me, too. And I'm using it this weekend.
And the groom's workshop is awesome as well. His groom's workshop.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, we are at a little after 9 o'clock. We've got to wrap things up. For those of you watching, thank you for watching tonight. Once we shut this off, what you need to do if you're on the DJN Virtual Expo, just you hold the shift key down and click refresh, and that will pull up tonight's show, the video player. You'll be able to check out tonight's about an hour and a half. I think last night was just a hair over an hour. Tonight we have an hour and a half of content. Great stuff from our virtual training team. Again, thank you for watching. Mitch, Ron, Vickie, thank you much for joining me tonight.
Thank you, John.
It was a
Thank you, John.
Good show.
Thank you, John.
And for those watching, we apologize if the audio was cutting in and out. That's unfortunately our technology world isn't perfect, but I think there's some great stuff there. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you much. This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News, Disc Jockey News TV, and Disc Jockey News Virtual Expo. Good night.